Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front of Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Potter right in and goalie scores. Oh my, what a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get into it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. I will be your host today. I am Maria from Watertown. We are recording on Wednesday, February 4th, which is the date that the Bruins are playing their final game before the Olympic break begins. I can't believe that it's already here, but before we get started on that topic and other topics specifically related to the Bruins, I want to welcome in my co-host, Caroline with a K. How are you, my friend? Has it warmed up in your area?
I mean, it's 23 degrees today.
That's
and
warm.
It is warmed up. So, although you were in Florida, and it seems like you didn't really get to escape any of this. So
I'll get to that. Don't even get me started on that. Between the weather and the subpar production that I feel the NHL put on for this event.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking that might be my last outdoor game, and I have been to all of them as the Bruins have participated them in. That now was not one of my favorite events, I'll tell you that.
Let me ask you this real quick, because I'm not remembering. Of all the outdoor games that Boston has played in, well, I was going to say they've hosted most of them. I mean, Lake Tahoe was on kind of neutral territory. I don't remember who they played. Philadelphia? That was like a random one.
Yes.
But so that's one.
The one at Notre Dame was a home game for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, you're right. I always forget about that one because I always think of there's two Fenway, there's Gillette, Notre Dame, Tahoe.
Yeah. And they got their asses kicked at Gillette by the Canadians. Brad Marchand managed to get himself suspended right before that game. So that was not a great showing for the Boston Bruins for that Winter Classic. And, maybe now I know we're going to get to this. Maybe there's a difference between the pomp and circumstance for the Winter Classic as opposed to a stadium series. But I found the in-game productions and the whole making your way to the venue and the lines and everything to suck. That's
I'm excited to hear about it especially from that perspective, because I think it was a very different experience from a TV perspective. But then again, all I had to do was make my way to my couch.
Yeah. So it was disappointing to me, and I know the team lost. So and I have takes on that royally pissed me off how that happened. So we're gonna get to all of that, folks. But before we do, we have a little bit of housekeeping.
Yes.
To attend to, as we normally do. First of all, for our housekeeping from a podcast standpoint, as we're heading into the break, we are still going to continue to record regular segments, folks. We're going to obviously keep up with what's going on with the Olympics because the Bruins have 9 representatives.
Crazy.
It's crazy, right?
So many, but not one for Canada.
Yeah.
Not a single Canadian.
Not a single Canadian, right. But and Jonas Korpisalo was the latest and most recent addition to that due to an injury. And is he currently Team Finland?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
UPL.
So we'll have episodes to touch upon that. We are also going to record a what we call a special segment or special episode. We typically do our own awards for the Boston Bruins. So each of us will be filling out our own ballots and then making our case for those we have chosen for awards such as MVP, Seventh Player Award, Rookie, Lady Bang, Selkie, and so on and so forth. So, sometimes we're on the same page with that and sometimes we're not, but it makes for good conversation.
Yes. I'm looking forward to our 3rd annual mid-season awards ceremony.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a good one this year because I think we're going to have a good variety of candidates to pick from, specific to just the Boston Bruins, folks. We're not doing this league-wide. It's just going to be specific to our Boston Bruins.
Yep.
The other thing in terms of housekeeping is the status of Elias Lindholm and Pavel Zacha, which apparently they have now missed. They did not travel to the Stadium Series game with the team. They are going to miss the game that the Bruins are playing tonight, which is their last game before the break. And again, we're recording on Wednesday, February 4th against the Florida Panthers. And then I just pulled up a brief quick hit on the internet to see that while they're okay, it sounds like they're holding them out so as to not jeopardize their ability to be able to play in the Olympics. And they'll let those specific national team doctors make that decision. Now, again, I'm likely going to go off on a tangent, but if they're okay and they're able to travel to Milan Cortina, to Milan to play in the Olympics, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be totally off base, but we probably could have used their help in the game against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yep.
The Stadium Series game and the game tonight against the Florida Panthers. Like, this freaking bothers me.
Yeah. We're playing divisional teams. It's one thing if it was like 2 home games and 2 teams from out west. All right, obviously points are points, and on the East, in the East, things are so tight. It's every point matters, and it is a little frustrating because they are very valuable to the construction of this team. We have talked about it the entire season that this team is that Jenga tower. And we have seen how they can struggle when core pieces are missing. Lately, they've been able to be a little bit more robust. And with 1 or 2 of these guys out, they've been able to still play well. But again, in a division where we are seeing this team fight tooth and nail for a spot, a single day can either have them be bumped into an actual divisional playoff position, and the very next day, without even playing a game, they're not even in the wild card. I don't love the decision making. I understand.
I just don't think it's a good look. This right now, I'm going to read you exactly what Marco Sturm said about 20 hours ago after they practiced in South Florida. He was asked the question by Scott McLaughlin of WEEI, quote unquote, both Elias Lindholm and Pavel Zacha will be okay for the Olympics, but that it's probably more of a decision for the national team doctors than the Bruins doctors at this point. So who's calling the shots here at this point?
Right.
Is it our doctors? Is it the Olympic doctors? Whose payroll are these 2 guys on right now?
Yeah.
Like, it pisses me off. This is another important 2 points. The game Sunday was another important 2 points. They got a loser point out of it, but we'll get to how they got that loser point. But again, this is, this is what has troubled me about some of this Olympic stuff that has been a nagging concern for me. I understand the fanfare and the privilege and the honor to be selected to play for your country.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, your priority is the team that pays you to play.
Well, and it's going to really suck if Boston finds themselves on the outside of the playoff structure by 1 or 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might be able to point to one of these games from this past week. I mean, who knows, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it won't have mattered, but everything is so up in the air. I mean, I find your point valid. I'm a little surprised. And not surprised that
don't sound so shocked. I can string together a rare, cogent, valid point.
All the time, Maria, you do. All the time. What are you talking about?
But see how calm, cool, and collected
Yeah,
I am?
I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed.
I won't be as calm, cool, and collected. Let me tell you something, though. If either or both of these guys are playing and they come back more injured than they were and not able to play for this team,
if they aggravate whatever,
then I won't be so calm, cool, and collected.
No, you, me, and everybody else. I'm sure every hockey fan is like, on the one hand, hey, I'm excited. I'm thrilled for you. Like, that's a great honor. But on the other hand, I swear to God, you better come back whole, because if you're out for the rest of the season, you don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about it.
I know. And I don't want to jinx anyone, but you know what? Like, these two gentlemen are of some concern, because if they're going in with some type of nagging injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could get better, but it could get worse. I don't know. Charlie McAvoy is the guy that also concerns me, because, first of all, you know me, when it comes to him, I've questioned I think he's a little soft when it comes to injuries. I do. It's just my opinion. My opinion. Okay.
Although he's had some pretty horrible luck in the past year, I feel like.
You're right. And
this year is the exception, because
that shot, the shot to the face, I'll grant
the
him that.
infection.
Obviously, I'm not, but I've seen instances of him previously, getting hit, going down in a heap, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Like, really, dude? Just scrape yourself up off the ice and get back in the play,
Yeah.
He's no Nikita Zadorov when it comes to that.
No. But it'll be interesting to see in the next 24 hours at the time of our recording. It's about to be 1:30 in the afternoon. Not to jump too far ahead into around the rink stuff, but to talk a little bit about the Olympics. The break trade freeze starts today at 3 p.m. and it goes until February 22nd. Simultaneously, the athletes who are done playing Wednesday are flying out on Thursday. Their charter flight from New Jersey heads out, and then the rest of them fly out the next day.
I mean, they all likely want to get there for the opening ceremonies on Friday.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see if there will be any other kind of very final dropouts, because we've started to see a few more all of a sudden appear. There's been a handful of guys across the league, not just those two that you mentioned, but Brad Marchand has been out with an injury. UPL, of course, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, he had to drop out of the Olympics literally, 3 days before leaving, which is crushing, but then great for Korpisalo. How many more are we going to see? Cirelli also just got got yanked from the Olympics because of that
Yeah,
hit.
Sam Bennett's taking his place, right?
Yeah, so that hit by Kastelik apparently did a number. Who knows exactly what happened there? We're really not going to know if there are any others until Friday, and even then, the teams bring extra guys, right? It's not like the movie Miracle where back then all they could take were the 20 guys. Now they are allowed to take a couple more. I wouldn't be surprised if possibly we see some guys who go out there and they, let's say, for example, Brad Marchand. The games are starting pretty quickly once they get there. Maybe he sits out part of the preliminary round, right? Because it's Team Canada. They're obviously expected to do really well. And then maybe he steps in. So there still might be guys who are going there actually injured, but close enough that the doctors would say, we're willing to take the risk to bring you to sit for a game or two. We're going to see what happens there.
We'll find that out sooner rather than later. But that leads us into some of our housekeeping. Very nice segue there, my friend. That's why you're the brains of this operation. So we're going to jump into our Around the Rink. And then, Caroline, I think you wanted to touch base a little bit on the men's hockey schedule. The women actually start on Friday, I believe.
No, Thursday.
Thursday. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, Thursday. That's tomorrow. Yeah.
The funny thing about the Olympics, right? There's the opening ceremony, but things are already happening. There are already preliminary rounds and things like that. So they've got their preliminaries start. You've got games in Group B and in Group A. So Team USA for the women play on Thursday at 10:40 in the morning against Czechia. Where's Canada? I believe Canada plays for the first time maybe on Saturday. No, I lie. Sorry. They play Thursday as well against Finland. So they start pretty quick and they get moving. And then the men play, they've got a little bit later start. They, February 11th. So they need to actually spend some time, practicing, getting to know one another.
Yeah.
Learn what they're supposed to be doing. So they don't actually start their group preliminary rounds until next Wednesday. And that's really only Slovakia and Finland and Sweden and Italy. We don't see Canada get going until next Thursday, and the United States as well next Thursday. So there's a little bit of time there, but there's still going to be hockey because we should all definitely check out the women's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Those games, they're going to be really intense. And this is the first year that the Olympics have the PWHL players, which is pretty exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. I just, not only selfishly for the 9 members of the Bruins organization that are going, I really don't want to see any of these guys come back injured. No. I really, really don't. I'm still a little annoyed and pissed off that Team USA named Austin Matthews as a captain and not one of the Kachuk boys. I'm sorry. That's just total BS as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah, I knew nothing was going to change. In fact, I had a conversation with somebody when they had posted, "Oh, I wonder who the captain is going to be." And I thought, they had already made that decision, but maybe I was just confusing it with the 4 nations. But then why would they change the team leadership if the core of Team USA, and same thing with Canada, like why would they change any of them if it's almost the same roster, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Not surprised, but
disappointed nonetheless. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the bias with where it comes to
I know
Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, I can't even believe that I'm like making a case for the Kachuk boy at this juncture. But
I know, no good.
Be that as it may.
And then the last piece of news around the rink that also I think came out somewhat quietly. Barry Trotz. He took over a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now.
3 years ago. Yeah.
Yep, as GM for the Nashville Predators. He's literally only the second GM in Predators history because I forget the guy's name, but the other one was there for like 20 years or whatever. And he's quote unquote retiring, which I think is kind of a funny way of saying he's not done well in that position. And so he's maybe saving face.
I don't know. I mean, I thought the same thing. I read something online before we started the podcast that says that's not necessarily the case. That he's 63 years old. He's been at this a really long time. A really long. I remember him as the coach when I lived in Portland, Maine, and we had the Portland Pirates. He came in his first year and coached that team to the championship. And not only that, he and those players were so good to the local youth hockey organizations. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better scenario. And the support that the community gave to the Portland Pirates as a result of these players, putting themselves out in the community and making us feel welcome into them was awesome. And he's been to me a class act from day one.
Oh, he's a favorite of mine. In fact, there was some chatter in our Discord group that maybe he'll reappear in a year as a coach again, and I don't think that would be a terrible thing. He's one that I've always liked, and I
know when things are going wrong, and this is right. The Nashville Predators are in. I don't want to say they're in a shambles, but they're on the struggle bus. That contract for Steven Stamkos looks really bad right now, right? And so, all those guys. So Barry Trotz is going to stay in the role while they're searching for a replacement to help with the transition. And then after they do find a replacement, he is going to stay on as a team advisor.
Hopefully, he gets to enjoy retirement. Well deserved.
I highly recommend it, Barry. It's a pretty good gig. It's a pretty good gig. Okay, so when last we met, we have 3 actual, real, legit hockey games to talk about.
I know.
And on January 26th, we had an overtime 4-3 loss at the New York Rangers. Then the Bruins came home and faced the Nashville Predators and luckily won that game 3-2. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that the game that the Bruins had challenges getting home?
Yes.
Because of weather? Yes. And they actually had to come home
on buses.
Yes. On buses.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yep.
But it's 3 overtimes in a row.
It's a lot of extra time.
Yeah, a lot of extra times. But that game, if they had lost that game, that might have been the excuse, the built-in excuse. But they eked it out. And then we have the Stadium Series game, which was a real game.
Was it?
Despite all the corny Pirates and the fireworks and all this other bullshit.
I loved the Pirates. It looked so much better on TV, Maria. I don't know.
I just...
Like, it was... You know what, though, I wish? It was very family friendly. However, then have this game on when my family can watch the whole thing, right? Why have it as a 7:00 game then?
And did the puck even drop right at 7? Because I'm not sure that it did.
I don't know. They advertised it as 6:30, and I was like, I feel like that's suspicious. But everything said 6:30.
I was not a fan of the state. First of all, there's nothing in and around this football stadium.
Oh,
so there wasn't even a bar that you could go to pregame. So if you didn't have a set up tailgate, and I understand it's a football stadium, but there were many of us there who didn't have the ability, right? Because we flew in for the game, we were flying out for the game. So would have been nice to have a freaking venue that had a bar around it that you could have pre-gamed at. Then once you get inside, the merchandise tent was a total unmitigated shit show debacle. First of all, they had only one merchandise tent
for 67,000 people
at the Fan Fest. I don't know how many they had inside the building. We found one inside the building where we stood in line for over an hour to get some merch. Now, again, you could say, well, you should have bought your merch ahead of time.
No, but you like to go.
But-
It's like I always go to the pro shop when I go to a Bruins game.
Right.
Who doesn't like to go and look?
And just like the feeding of the crowd to get into the fan fest or into the building, I thought it was piss poor. Of all the outdoor games that I have been to, and I have been to all of them that have involved the Bruins, right? And Notre Dame was a blast. Just the pomp and circumstance and the venue that we were in, just I don't give a shit about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers building, right? And then I understand that it was a home game for the Tampa Bay Lightning, so that the production and the crowd surfing and all that stuff was swaying towards the Tampa Bay Lightning. But you couldn't show me replays of all the plays. There were minimal replays on any goals that the Bruins scored. And then the key play that happened in, was it the overtime? When Pasta thought, okay, we're sitting there waiting. Like, I want to see what happened. Never once was shown on the Jumbotron. Never once. Instead, I see, all the people in their pirate stuff and the pirate ships. And I just found it to be a frustrating experience.
Yeah.
A frustrating experience. And
it sounds like it was definitely one of those productions that was really more so for TV than the people who were there.
I think you're right, and I mean, the fan fest was fine. There were the highlight was being able to have your picture taken with the Stanley Cup. Thank God we got in there very, very early, and with the help of friend of the pod, MB Skis, Mary Beth, who was able to get us in. But later on, like within an hour or so after that, it was a 2-hour wait in line to have your picture taken with the Stanley Cup. Now, again, there's only one Stanley Cup, so there's nothing you can do about that. But the merchandise,
you're not standing 2 hours in line. Jesus.
But, I mean, this is what is mind-boggling to me. You know that you could potentially have over 60,000 people flooding in to this event. They ran out of a particular seltzer drink that the crowd was drinking at the
and I saw the prices. My God. $18 for chicken tenders?
19. No, 19. $19. A spiked hot chocolate inside the stadium was $26. $26. We didn't buy it, but that's what the price was.
So what you're telling me is the entire thing goes in the penalty box.
For me, yes. That's just my personal opinion. The game itself goes in the penalty box too, because the fact that you blew a 5-1 lead in that game pissed me off to no end as I'm sitting there shivering.
Yep.
Now, the weather conditions didn't help. It was cold, right? It was cold. I mean, can't control the weather. We thought we were going, to Tampa, Florida to watch a game outside where, the temperatures might drop to 50 at night, not 30s.
Yeah, exactly.
The way that they blew that game really pissed me off. And I said to myself at one point, when it was 5-1, I wonder how long it's going to take the officials to start feeling bad that this game is looking to be a runaway. Because I'm not sure if fans would have stayed in their seats,
right?
Given how cold it was in there, to watch their team get the leap kicked out of them. And I blame one person. I blame one person for that momentum swing and changing it in the wrong direction, and that is Jeremy Swayman. I'm so pissed off. I was so pissed off at this kid for being selfish and self-centered at that moment in time. Because up until that point,
right,
Tampa looked lifeless and listless.
Awful. They were bad.
So they get off to a hot start, right? And the building explodes because there's a goal within, like, we're just, wrapping our blankets around ourselves, and it's 1-0.
No.
And this is where I give this Bruins team a ton of credit. They don't really quit, and they don't give up. And so they came back, and Tampa looked like, what the hell is happening here? The Bruins scored 5 unanswered goals. That should put things to bed. You have things in hand. No, what happens? The Bruins get emotional. They let their emotions get ahead of them. Then our goalie, who's been wanting a goalie fight for how long, decides, oh, this is a good time. This is a good time.
Yeah.
That energized Vasilevsky, woke him up.
I guess so.
What you did, Jeremy Swayman, is what we tell other teams not to do to us. Don't poke the fucking bear. And that's what you did.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Yep.
The officials were garbage. Absolute garbage.
My biggest complaint, ultimately, like the most generalized complaint, aside from the fact that there were certainly missed blatant calls, and that happens, I get it. But this game was one of those situations where the referees did not manage the game appropriately or correctly. And what I mean by that is the on-ice officials, their job isn't just to call, trip, penalty, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They have to understand the dynamics of what's happening on the ice. And historically, with hockey teams where there is high energy and high emotion and maybe a rivalry, it's a big game, whatever it is, they're gonna chirp more. They're gonna push and shove a little bit more. They're gonna poke and needle at each other a little bit more. And it is the on-ice officials' responsibility to correctly manage that. And you could tell first half of the game, there was a lot of what we like to call the extracurriculars happening, but nothing really seemed to be addressed. And so when you all of a sudden started to see the kind of idiotic multiple penalties being called against the Bruins, regardless if they were accurate or not, maybe they were. Sure, they probably were. There were some that certainly were. Some of them were bad luck. But what you end up have happening is you've got these two teams. They're kind of doing a little mild shoving and pushing. And then all of a sudden, you're only giving one side penalties. The other side is going to get mad, and they're going to take matters into their own hands because the referees refused to manage the game correctly. And that's when things can go sideways. Either one team that feels aggrieved and frustrated loses their cool, and you start to then see penalty after penalty, or you just end up with a situation where you've got both teams just, in some kind of massive fight, and you've got 10 guys from each team in the box. And unfortunately for the Boston Bruins, it was a one-sided response on their part. And, I'm not saying that their response was appropriate, that they should have done it. And again, some of them were very stupid mistakes.
Right.
But I'm not surprised. This is what happens when you don't manage a game.
And they were undisciplined. Right. They did become undisciplined. But they weren't.
And I'm sorry, if you were blowing your whistle, then
it wasn't even. It wasn't
why
even.
was it not heard by the people who need to hear it? I don't know. I do not understand that.
Right. I don't know. I don't understand. And they're claiming that the crowd was so loud that no one could hear the whistle.
I don't know. But any stick taps?
Yes, I'm giving stick taps to all of our Olympians.
Yeah, I agree.
From the Boston Bruins. All right. And I also want to give a stick tap to the Toronto Maple Leafs management.
The management, yes.
For giving up on Fraser Minton.
Yes. Thank God for that. Holy cow. Rookie of the month, right?
I mean, Don Sweeney looks like he fleeced.
It's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty unbelievable that happened.
And in the penalty box, I put Jeremy Swayman squarely in there. And I explained more than once. I explained it in the snapshot, and I explained it more thoroughly here. And also, the NHL Stadium Series team. I thought the production was not up to standards, and I really do think that the NHL needs to start relooking and rethinking these games and where they do them, how they do them, and the timing of them. Because the other disaster that took place in Tampa was the weekend of something called Gasparilla.
Yeah.
Where's this huge pirate parade, and it's just an influx of a lot of people, which makes it even more challenging to try and get car rides to and from places and getting into restaurants. So just is not my ideal outdoor game. But sounds like I'm whining, and maybe I am, and I don't care who thinks I'm whining because it's my party and I'll cry if I freaking want to.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So, here we are. We're at the end of the pod. We're at the end before the break.
There's still a game tonight that is very important to the Boston Bruins. They have worked their way into a good place with their wild card seeding. Let's see if they can end on a relative high note here with this trip to Florida. But in the meantime, we thank you all. Please consider liking and subscribing for more content. Please be sure to leave us a rating and a review to help other Bruins fans find us. You can support our podcast by joining our Patreon or following us on our socials at Tape to Tape MK and on Substack at tapetotapemk.substack.com. Any closing thoughts?
Go Bees!
Go Bees!